Hello, and welcome back to the Games Embassy with the Ambassadors of Gaming. I am one in your army of hosts, Ambassador Michael.
And I am Ambassador Jordan.
And welcome to our corner of the internet where we have news about stuff. Jordan, how are you doing today?
Not too bad, can't complain. Been working away all day. Got a bit of the cold from the kids, doing what they
Of
do
course,
best, just passing on the bugs. And a bit
it's
of
that
working
time of the
away.
year,
Nah, the best time, the flu season.
the most wonderful time of the year, as many will say, I'm
You start
sure.
trying to sing that, but with snot coming out your mouth and you can't even sing it anymore. That's how I feel just now. Not that I want to sing Christmas songs yet, but
Yeah.
how was your day? That's the real
Oh,
question.
it's been wonderful. I moved. We have a new setup. Hopefully my internet will continue to not be shit. That would be
Oh,
great. Uh we're doing the show, you and I together. The boys recorded a group chat yesterday, so I haven't even listened to that yet. I gotta listen to that stuff and edit it, so that'll be good. So yeah, if you haven't yet, group chat is a new thing we kind of do, so it's kind of cool. It's totally just offbeat. It's just whatever the fuck we want it to be every episode, so they're all gonna be pretty different from each other. But anyways, you can tell the good people how to get that if you would like.
so if you're interested in getting some tasty little treats, you can check out our nice little Patreon page and get some cool perks, goodies such as early access to shows, getting your comments, questions, and concerns read on our shows as well, and exclusive content. Not only that, but if you'd like to support the show and get access to these goodies that I've already previously mentioned, you can go over to patreon.com/ambassadors of gaming and be sure to check it out.
Yeah, dude, it's good. The Patreon is really good. We've been working really hard. We're hoping to push to like a timed exclusive with group chat, and then they're gonna have still their exclusive videos that Adam's been working on. He just finished cooking up his video. I gotta edit it, so that's very exciting. And it's really affordable. It's $1, and pretty much you get everything except this show early. So
And just think about it, $1.
a
You
dollar,
get a smile
one
on a
dollar.
group of boys' face every day or
That
every
would be
month.
amazing. We were talking about it pre-show, so I don't want to go back into it too much. But basically, the pre-show, if you're a Patreon, you get that for free. It's just included. We just have so many perks. You're welcome. Uh, that basically we get fucked by every platform we're on because we're so small, and it's not looking like it's gonna change anytime soon. So even if you just go to the Patreon and just like check it because we post everything there now. That's like the central hub of where we're posting stuff. You can find impressions, all of our stuff for YouTube, and eventually it's probably just going to be the hub. The short version is YouTube's making some changes if you haven't seen, so it's possible that our time there may come to an end, and so we're trying to make sure we are spread out like a gross hentai tentacle monster. You
Yeah,
know.
YouTube's making lists and it's checking it twice. It's trying to find out if you're commercially viable. Oh, nice.
Pretty much, dude. Pretty much. So, anyways,
Fucking.
we could get into the real bullshit now if we're ready. What we actually came here to do. We got updates, announcements, and other miscellaneous news.
And to get these updates started, there's been rumors circulating that have quickly died about Microsoft buying out the Ukulele studio. Playtonic Games have went to Twitter to let us know that that is not the case, and they're not actually working on Microsoft at that time, and they're not being purchased by the company. Which is quite interesting, just given
Right.
with the whole, I'd say, warpath that kind of Microsoft's been on. Maybe not, that's maybe the wrong word, but like they have been securing quite a lot of good studios. Would have been
Right.
interesting to see if they would take these guys, but you know what happened. They bought over Rare quite a while ago. These guys are like, this is meant to be the spiritual successor almost to some of, well, I guess
Correct.
Banjo and Kazooie as opposed to some of their games. But it would have been kind of interesting to see if they just bought these guys as well. But I'm kind
Right.
of happy they're not getting bought out, just because it gives them more freedom as to what they can do.
Right.
But what's your thoughts on that? Like, I'm not against it either way. Like at the moment, I'm happy it's not happening. But if it does happen, I'm not going to be like, oh, like totally gutted.
I just didn't think it was. When I heard about it, I was like, that doesn't really seem to make sense for literally either of them. Like,
Mhm.
Playtonic wants to be kind of that spin off Rare,
Yeah,
and they want
exactly.
to make those kind of games, and Microsoft doesn't want Rare to make those kind of games anymore, so why would they buy them? Like,
Yeah.
overall it didn't make much sense to me in the first place. And then when they were like, yeah, sorry, that's not happening, and then some weird rumor came out that they were making a Banjo-Kazooie game with Microsoft. That's why, like, we had to put it in there. They're not working with them. I don't know where that rumor even came from or why it would make any sense. Microsoft would not dump money into that kind of thing right now. That's not where they're at as a company.
I
But yeah,
guess
it's fine.
unless they're trying to just secure more companies, like get them early as opposed to get them like exactly
Right.
when they need them. Because I've seen that happen before, I guess, and it's not
Yeah.
unheard of. But like you're saying, it doesn't really make much sense. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure it's not happening. But like I said, if it did happen down the line, probably wouldn't be overly gutted. But as long as it's not a case of that they buy up so many different studios and like you're saying, restrict them to the type of things they can
Right.
create, because then it's like you're
Or
saying,
even
like
close them
stop
down.
pre-ordering. Yeah,
Because that's what Sony did. They just bought up a bunch of studios, and then, like, what was it? Within the first 3 or 4 years of the PS4, they shut a bunch of them down. So, like,
I hate when that happens. It's like
yeah,
they have such an opportunity, or the studios at least do, and then it just gets totally ruined for like literally no reason other than
right.
we're just going to shut you down. We don't need you anymore. It's like, oh, nice.
We
There
could
goes
actually.
some.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad.
That's okay. I was just rambling on about missing out on some good opportunities for games, but
Right. And ultimately, I don't know. I think the power in the name. When it comes to a studio and art in particular, we see this with musicians, for example. There's a lot of power to a name when you try to make changes. Less so in games, you know what I mean? Like, if a racing dev was like, "Okay, we're not gonna make a racing game, but we're gonna make, I don't know, something like Rocket League." You know what I mean? Like,
mhm.
where it's kind of in our vein, but not really. People aren't gonna be like, "Oh my god, you changed. What the fuck?" Like, it doesn't happen the same way as musicians, but there's still power to the name where they're like, "You have to make this type of game, or you have to do this specific thing." And it's like, why? It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, I can go and link this up with the next point, and we kind of discuss it further. Is PlayStation's actually opening a new studio in Malaysia. It's their first south. What was it? Southwest, Southeast Asia studio. So the studio is opening in 2020, and basically it's just focusing on providing art and animation as a sports studio. So again, this didn't make any sense to me because, like I said, they shut down like 4 studios in the last couple of years. So why didn't you just have one of them become a support studio instead of just shutting them completely down?
Yeah, it seems a
Unless
bit
you
weird
wanted
to
to
me.
just fire everybody.
Probably, yeah.
So
It is a weird choice. So it's like you're saying, why shut all these studios down and then just open one in Malaysia? It's like,
yeah. Well,
I think
they supposedly opened a new one in Santa Monica too. Like the rumors of that Uncharted game they're working on in Santa Monica. So I don't know. Shit doesn't make any sense to me. But what do I know? I'm not a head of a department like that.
they must have a good reason for doing it, but until like to just say it's for a support studio, it seems a bit like, is there a need to open a new studio for that? Like, I don't understand why. Like, it's like you're saying, like, surely they could
Yeah.
have just retained one of the studios already had, or just expand one they already had. But
Right, or contract or something like that. Because, like, we've seen that with Activision. Basically, what Activision did is took all the studios that were making like their small little licensed games, and when they
mhm,
lost the licenses, we're like, okay, you make Call of Duty map packs now, like, or you
exciting.
do Call of Duty multiplayer, you do whatever, like small bullshit. I think honestly, the only reason they need these is because nothing on PS4 has launched at the time it said it would. Literally every single game I can recall got pushed, except for maybe God of War. But that's because
Yeah,
they announced it like 3 months before it released. So like the game was basically done, you know?
yeah.
Uh
Sneaky tactic always works in their favor because then you can't really disappoint anyone if you've just announced it like months before it comes out.
right. Like they literally announced the Last of Us release date, and then 2 weeks later we're like, whoops, sorry, we have to push it. I'm like, why? Why did you say anything? You should have just not said shit and just told us when it was more concrete. So
Exactly. You think that'd be the logical thing, but I don't think they tend to go for that route.
right. I keep hearing things that it's like, oh, it's about pre-order numbers. And it's like, bro, we all know that they would literally take pre-orders the second a game is announced. Like, so it's not pre-orders. Like you could
Yeah,
pre-order whatever. You could pre-order The Last of Us 2 when it got announced. Like before you literally saw like, anything, you could pre-order it.
Yeah, it's
So
all they need is a placeholder image, and that's enough for them to start taking that sweet coin.
right, pretty much. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how this works going forward, but I think that's also why you're seeing Microsoft do what it's doing. Is it they probably do honestly need support studios to keep building the type of games they're building on next gen. So
Yeah,
Microsoft needs hits. Like they need hard hits, so they can't afford to fuck it up. Where PlayStation has a little bit of cushion right now, you know? So
that's true. I
they could
guess
lob
like
out a couple stinkers and be okay, I think.
yeah.
So
Some of like Microsoft's most recent like big games, I've just not been a massive fan of, and the only one that keeps coming back to me is Gears
agreed.
5. That's just a personal opinion on it that I just was not impressed. But
Yeah.
yes.
I like the multiplayer, but that's the only reason I've ever really enjoyed Gears. Um, you know,
Yeah.
they're doing new stuff, thankfully, with Microsoft, but it's still like, okay, here's the same franchise for like 2 generations. Like we
Hmm.
get it, bro. Gears and Halo are good. We know. Like,
Exactly. I would have liked them to have just maybe not ended it, but like I don't even know. Like Gears 4 kind of had promise. Gears 5 to me just nosedived. I'm talking purely from a story standpoint. Like I just hated the entire story.
fair
And the
enough.
fact that it get built up to something, and then by the time it actually started kind of getting interesting, just
Dude,
ended, and it just
I
had a
said the
really bad
same
ending.
shit. I
Yeah,
said the same thing. I was like, Gears 4 and Gears 5 shit. They're boring as fuck for like 3/4 of the game. They finally start to get interesting. Some cool plot thing happens, and then the game's over. I was like, what the fuck, dude? You actually like start hitting your stride, and then it's over.
yeah. As
That's
soon as you
like,
get into it, they're just like, we could keep letting you enjoy this, but no, you're gonna have to wait till 6 or the
yeah,
next installment. It's like, okay, I'll just go fuck myself then. I
right.
really hope Halo is not the same because Halo 5, I was a
Garbage.
big fan. Yeah, I did
Yeah,
not like
I'm
its
not a
story.
fan either.
I
I
really hope Halo 6 changes it.
It's been rough for me. I haven't really had any Microsoft exclusives this gen where I've been like, this is the thing. I played Ori when it finally came to Game Pass or Games with Gold or whatever, and I
Yeah,
was like, this is a fucking game. And that was the first like Microsoft exclusive besides that and Cuphead, where I was like, holy shit, these are fucking good. But those aren't even Microsoft made games. They just gave people money to make them. Like, you
yeah.
know? So I don't know. Microsoft, I have faith in that they're gonna get it right, but we'll just have to see. Anyways, would you like to take us to the next one?
On to the next point. There's news that Pokemon will not have a launch event in Tokyo. They've blamed this
Shocking.
on, or they've blamed operation reasons for the cancellation. As we've seen, there's been a lot of recent anger over the loss of the National Pokedex, and this could prevent issues with the fan base. I've
Yeah,
seen this
people
going
going
around for a
crazy.
while, and I'm sure we've touched on it before as well, actually, just about like everyone's thoughts on the lack of
Right.
Pokemon or the lack of having every Pokemon.
Right.
I guess that is going to cause a lot of people to get annoyed, and I don't think it's like just based on our previous discussions. It's not just the fact that they're not there; it's the fact that they said they weren't there due to the amount of time they had to spend to create new animations, etc. But then people found out they're just using old animations, slightly
Right.
upscaled, I think it was, and it was kind of like I, for one, I'm not overly bothered about the lack of the Pokemon. I kind of like I'm happy if it's got enough, and the
Right.
game's quite meaty as opposed to just being fluffed out by saying I'll go collect all these Pokemon. Like
Right.
I'd rather have like a really good story with a reasonable amount of Pokemon to catch. But at the same time, I can totally understand why some people just aren't having it at all. And I guess it's probably the older generation of gamers that grew up with Pokemon as opposed to newcomers because they're not really going to be bothered. They're just going to see a cute
No,
Pikachu and get invested. Similar
pretty
to
much.
probably what my daughter would say.
Right. That's what my assumption is with the kids. It's just like, who gives a crap? Even
Yeah.
as I don't know, we grew up in that generation of like red and blue and silver and gold, and so like I don't know. I always thought what was most interesting was the mixture of old and new. Like,
Hmm.
I know that I'm pretty sure it was silver. You couldn't catch any, right? Until you like there were some mixed in, but you didn't get the national decks until you beat the game, like
Yeah.
at the
And then you
very
had to
end of the
go
game.
into
Right.
you could go back into Kanto after you'd done the first league. And I thought that
Right.
that's still one of my favorite games. I think of that of the Pokemon franchise. I've
Right.
just got so many memories with that, and like you're saying, like the whole you complete one region and you can go to the next. It was just I don't know why they haven't done that in any of the new ones.
Their
Oh,
excuse is always scale. And I no offense to Pokemon. I think I said this recently before Sword and Shield when Let's Go kind of came out. I was like,
mm,
I think you're kind of starting to see that like the cracks of their development cycle because like before it used to just be okay, these are just handheld games. That's why we can't make them so big. And now
mhm,
it's like, okay, you're running on the Switch, which is roughly the equivalent of the PS3, right? Like it's not exactly the same as the 360 and the PS3, but it's close, right? In terms of its capability and power. Or am I wrong about that?
I'd say you're pretty spot on.
Okay. So you can run fucking Skyrim on the Switch. You're gonna tell me you can't scale Pokemon?
And then
Like,
Witcher 3 is pretty much
right.
a really
And
good example. If you can do that, then I'm pretty sure you could add a region or two extra.
right.
And even like,
So
see, like, sorry to butt in, but see, even if it was just like the base of like two additional regions, and it was literally just NPCs, people to like some people to battle, random encounters, and the gyms in a league. That'd be enough. You don't need like a story per region. Just having that
right.
opportunity to like, because they could have just taken Cantwell from Let's Go and said, by the way, you can go back here. People probably wouldn't have been overly impressed, but I still think it would have gave you that
Right.
little nice incentive to continue playing. But I have a feeling that it might not happen in the first few well, I don't know the best way to phrase it, but the next few Pokemon games, because it's still
Right.
early days for the whole shift from the formula they've had for years going into the Switch. So there's still some room for it to grow, I think. But I really hope it does, because like you're saying, if not, then people are probably just going to be like, what's going on? It's the same
Right.
in the past like 3 games. Nothing's changing. You might get a new region, and I guess that's contradicting. Like there is stuff changing, but it's not enough to
Right.
like keep you invested for like a great deal of time.
Right. Well, we just seen like you said, The Witcher 3. Like if you look at The Witcher, I'm not saying that okay, every game needs to be The Witcher 3. That's not I think what we're saying. But just in terms of like, okay, Pokemon really hasn't changed much up until um X and Y and then Sun and Moon.
Mhm.
Like for the most part, they tried to make some changes with Black and White, but before that, there wasn't much. Like Red and Blue, Silver and Gold, Ruby and Sapphire are all more or less similar, if not the same. Ruby and Sapphire are basically just better versions of in terms of graphics and just functionality. Silver and Gold. Silver and Gold are still probably my favorite, if I'm going to be honest. But
Same.
then Diamond and Pearl are just upgraded versions of Sapphire and Ruby. And then what came after that? Black and White, and then Black and White 2. And like they're basically the same games but flipped or whatever. And
Yeah.
then X and Y. And X and Y is and the people I talked to, the most mediocre of the recent Pokemon games. And I didn't even play Sun and Moon. At least Sun and Moon tried something new and different. And it had a different map, it had a different style, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then they kind of cheaped out with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. It's basically the same fucking game again. Instead of
Yeah.
doing that third variant, though, they're just like, here's 2 different variants of basically the same shit again for $60. And I'm like, I'm not paying that again for basically the same game. Like, so,
I I bought Sun. Oh, I bought yeah, yeah. I bought Sun, and I
mhm,
started playing it very briefly. Couldn't really get into it. I think it was just that I had too many games to play at that time. And then it
right,
wasn't until well, I still not finished Pokemon Pikachu Let's Go, unfortunately. But it wasn't until I got a good bit into that I went back to try and see what Sun was like.
right,
And I know it sounds overly critical, but the graphics just put me off so much. And it sounds so bad because
yeah.
Pokemon games aren't known for their outstanding graphics, but it was just like I don't even know. It was just like I was spoiled by the finesse of the Switch, and then I went back and just seen the
Right.
jagged harshness of the characters in Sun, and I was like, "Fuck this."
Yeah, that's pretty much where I was at too with my 3DS. That's pretty much why I gave up. Graphical fidelity on it was so bad in comparison to my PS4 and my Xbox. And I'm like, why
Yeah,
am I going to keep this thing? Like I don't play anything. It's basically a Pokemon machine for me. So I got rid of it. Um, and
so
I would
this
say pretty much the same thing. I've seen the models for the Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon after the Let's Go came out on the Switch, and I was like, holy crap, these things needed the upres bad.
yeah. Some of them are
So
fine. Like some of the games on this 3DS and that, even though like they might not look amazing, they can look quite nice.
right,
But yeah, I don't know why. I don't know if it was this. I caught him at the wrong time, but there was something about Sun, and it just looked awful.
Yeah.
I normally wouldn't say that about a Pokemon game, but that's just the one thing that stuck in my mind about it when I booted it back up for that time. I just did not like it at all. I was like,
I
thank
don't
God that
blame you.
came out on the Switch. 'Cause it's so nice on the Switch. And that's the way that I think
Right.
everyone wanted Pokemon games to go. So I'm looking forward to the new Pokemon game, but I'm still on the fence a little. I'm just worried that it will only get me invested for so long, and then that investment will just disappear. It's the same for pretty much any game, I guess. That's the risk with them
Yeah.
all.
That was my issue with Let's Go is I played it, and once I hit oh, fuck, what would I say? Probably, like, the 5th or 6th gym, I was
Mhm.
like, "I'm ready for this to be over with now." Like, I'm done. I want it to be over now, please. Like, maybe it's
Yeah,
just because it's Kanto and I've played Kanto so much, and I'm like, "Okay, I know Kanto, I know what this is like. This is just a nice, pretty version of Kanto." But I always thought the definitive version of Kanto was Fire Red and Leaf Green, personally. I always thought that
yeah.
was the best version of Kanto. I would've if you had just literally gave me those games, I would've been fine. That's just a me thing, that's my preference, but,
I think it was that as well as like the oversimplification of Let's Go. I think that kind of made it
yeah,
hard to want to get to the end because, from what I remember, even when I played it, I just absolutely tanked the game. Like literally nothing stood a chance against me. I don't know if that's
right,
because overtrained. Normally, with every Pokemon game, I have I don't know if routine's the right word, but normally I'll get to a certain level before the first gym, and that kind of sets me up for the entire game because I'll be
right,
stronger than everyone after that,
right,
more or less.
pretty
And with
much.
Let's Go, I think it was just because pretty sure that by default every Pokemon got your XP as opposed to having to
Yeah,
equip XP shared to one of them, and it was stuff like that that just made it too easy to get through. Like there wasn't
yeah,
as much
that's
challenging, but fair enough. I can tell why, but still.
right, that started in X and Y. That's when they started doing the, like, XP share as,
Yeah,
like, a it used to be a key item. Like, you wouldn't get it until later in the game. That's how X and Y
hmm
did it. You got it near the end of the game as, like, a way to kinda level all your Pokemon out. But in and to be fair, it did what XP share did. So instead of it being like, okay, you get 500 XP, it's like, okay, instead of splitting it in half and give it whatever, it would split it up in half equally to each Pokemon. So they would get half of what you normally would XP wise, but all of your Pokemon would get it, I think, or something
yeah,
like that. It wasn't split into how many Pokemon, it was just split evenly. Um, but yeah, X and Y was super easy for me. Pokemon Let's Go was super easy for me. I don't. The thing I hated was the motion control, the like throwing, and then the lack of battling random Pokemon. That's the thing I hated the most about it. But
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. They need to do something different with this one, and I kind of get why it sucks because like when I read their interviews and stuff, like we talk about this all the time. Like, yeah, it's shitty when this stuff happens, like from our perspective as gamers, right? But then you constantly hear about how the devs are like, dude, people are just assholes to us because of stuff like this. They are just mean for no reason, basically, over a video game. And it's like you don't want to
yeah.
be that person either. Like you want to make your criticism valid, but you don't want to be a jerk about it. So something to keep in mind, I guess, for everybody. Because we bitch and we complain, but I'm not like going on Twitter and being like, "You're a garbage human being because you didn't include my favorite Pokemon." Like, you
Yeah,
know,
exactly. It's like
there's a
it's no
line,
yeah, there's no need for that type of reaction to it because you
right?
never know. Like in this, I wouldn't really like it if the Pokemon came out later as DLC, unless it was like free updates. That sounds
Right,
really well. I wouldn't say it's neat. Like, I don't know the right word for it, but like I would be annoyed if I had to pay for them later.
right.
But at the same time, it's like in this day and age, you could get it as just a free update, and it's got like maybe an extra few Pokemon get released into the wild. Stuff like that would be pretty cool. But
Right.
yeah,
I'd
you
be
never know.
interested to see how that goes. Traditionally, I'm a Digimon fan, so like I play those games, and Digimon's very similar to Pokemon in terms of like the count of Digimon is like asinine. There's like I think 1,500 of them, but they have a lot of duplicates in terms of like
Mhm.
color swaps and stuff like that. But anyways, so like I get not having all of them in there, but I think this ultimately comes down to just people being crazy and them being like, okay, people are mad. Let's not congregate a bunch of mad people together in the same area. That's probably not the best idea.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly.
so I don't blame them at all. Anyways, let's move on to some more silliness. This one is our basically the community gets it wrong or journalism gets it wrong story of the week. So, Skate 4 trademark was lost, but then it was found. Don't worry, Skate still exists in EA's cold dark clutches. People digging through EA's trademark files thought the company's trademark had expired. However, the company still owns the IP, and it actually has been currently labeled as registered and renewed, the first renewal for 10 years. So if you're on this is just US copyright trademark bullshit. Basically, you have to update your trademark after 10 years if you plan on using it. You're not allowed to trademark stuff in the US if you're not planning on using it. So EA has to have some plan to use it, whether that's a re-release, whether that's whatever, they have to have a plan to use it. So that's good news for Skate fans.
Be nice to see if something comes from it, but you never know. I
Who
wouldn't be
knows?
surprised if they just hold on to it for a little bit longer and come up with some
Right.
half-assed excuse. But like you said, I think at the bare minimum, they'd probably look to do a remaster or something at least.
Right. Honestly, EA is the stupidest fucking gaming company out there. Like, I know we say this all the time, but like Activision gets how to play people, right? Like they piss people off, but then they give them good products in return, basically.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And they're like, you're gonna bitch, but we're gonna keep giving you decent to good games. Like with all the Blizzard stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like now, guess what? Nobody gives a shit about all the stuff with Blizzard because they're all stoked about the new Blizzard games. Surprise, surprise. Um, but with EA, it's like, okay, EA, all of EA's fan base is like, give us Mass Effect remastered or at least ported. Give us Skate ported or remastered, whatever. And EA is like, no, we're not going to do that. I'm like, why? Why are you shooting yourself in the foot like this? It's literally the easiest thing you could do, and people would be very happy about it, and you would make money. But no, you're not going to do it. So they're
Yeah.
frustrating. They're the fucking
It's
worst, man.
it's surprising that they don't want to make money on stuff like that. Have no idea why, but you think after
Right.
the bombshell of the latest Mass Effect that remastering the other ones would be a no-brainer because they could literally do it exact same as what happened with BioShock and just do a
Right.
trilogy pack of upscaled graphics and include all the DLC and boom, they'd make a pretty penny on that compared to your
Yeah.
boy Andromeda or whatever. But
I don't.
I don't know if I'd call it that. I'd maybe give it a worse name.
Yeah, I don't know. Even if they were like, okay, it's $60 here, all the DLC, blah 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 blah. Here it is. People would buy that shit up in a heartbeat. Like, I don't, I don't get it. It is very frustrating to watch because it's like you have very clear, easy wins, and you just don't take them, and you instead take a really difficult, hard path that is shitty. So I don't know.
So they
Whatever.
just like causing themselves hassle or just
I
not
swear, dude.
pleasing their fans.
I don't like there has to be something weird with not Andrew Wilson, but like the direction he gets from the board of directors or something like that. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
has to be something like that because it's just so insanely stupid. Like, like it's so out of touch. I guess not stupid is a harsh word, but it's definitely out of touch. It's very clear that they're not in touch with the community at all. So, but anyways, we could talk about something that is good and something that is in touch with the community. We don't really have any game announcements, but we do have new news about PlayStation Now. If you want to tell us what was added.
So some games that would be definitely tasty to some of the fans out there is as follows, which is Persona 5, Shadow War, and Hollow Knight. Three
Ooh,
of games that I think are pretty good. Persona 5, still getting through that, but like from what I've played,
I
it's
don't
a really
blame you.
good game. It's
Look,
what's
I'm
not
gonna
to love.
make I'm gonna make still a controversial statement. After every game I have played this entire generation, Persona 5 is still my favorite game this gen. Not gonna lie. I love it more than literally everything else. More than God of War, more than Uncharted, literally more than anything. I love Persona 5. I honestly think it's probably the best modern RPG, but that's just me.
I
Um,
really need to get back to finishing it.
it's
That's the
so
problem.
long.
I'm in that dangerous spot of the year where I'm just getting pummeled by new games, and
I
I've just
feel
got
like
so
that.
many that are just sitting screaming for my attention.
I feel you on that. I got what 3 right now, and then we got Star Wars and Pokemon coming up too. So I got probably 5 or 6 games coming up, but that's pretty much it for the rest of the year. So once I get videos out for those, I can actually just chill and play games at my leisure. But you unfortunately don't have that. you have a bunch of shit coming down the pipe. So good luck to you, I guess. We're gonna try to help you out with those so you could get everything situated. But real quick, because you and I haven't had a chance to discuss it. How do you feel about the new PlayStation Now stuff? Does it make you feel better or more confident in it, or do you still think it's shit? Because let's be honest, it was pretty shit before.
It seems like it's getting better. It's getting some like decent titles in it. I think like they don't have a choice but to try and not beat but like compete with Microsoft.
Right.
Like if they want to stay like not stay afloat, but you know what I mean. If they want to stay in
Competitive,
touch with
yeah.
the community, yeah, they don't have a choice. Like they have to start releasing not necessarily like brand new massive first party games, but at least doing stuff like this and giving like
Right.
fans games that they can actually like each one
Want
of
to
them games.
play.
Yeah, they've got like a decent time on them. I've got them all like really good games. I think when it's just like a lackluster library, it just puts people off, and you're not even going to get people to try it if it's just like
Right.
games that they don't care about. And I guess that's down to everyone's preference and opinion, but
Right.
we're
I
seeing
agree
an
with that.
improvement.
Well, that's good because I've looked at it more and more, and I'm like, this is starting to look enticing to me, but I still can't justify paying $10 a month because I don't want to go back and play any of these games. The only
Hmm.
ones I really care about are like some of the PS3 ones I missed, but I don't want to stream them. I just want to download them, and I can't do that because the PS3 is a piece of crap. So, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I hope they figure that out. I think we talked. I don't know if you and I have discussed this, but Sony did file a patent to basically have a CPU and a GPU be able to recognize where software was originally made and what architecture it was originally run on, and then basically emulate those components. I don't know if that's something
Pretty
that's
cool.
feasible, but it's a really good idea in concept. So
Be interesting to see how it's executed.
yeah, I'm interested to see if it actually happens. I hope it does, but at the moment, we've been hearing that apparently they're having trouble getting PS4 games to run on PS5. So I don't.
That's promising.
Yeah, right. I'm like, great. You can afford to fuck up this one. You really can't afford to fuck up like the successor to the second best-selling console of all time. Like you really just can't do that. I mean, you
Exactly. Yeah.
can, but unless you want Microsoft to, kick you in the freaking head, I wouldn't recommend it. So,
I hope
anyways,
it's
we can
not.
move into the news unless you got something to say about
No, I'm fine. I'm fine to move on.
it. Okay, sounds good. We got a lot of tasty Nintendo news and surprisingly 3DS news. I knew that's not what you were thinking about today when you clicked on this show. I'm gonna hear about the 3DS, but here we are. So I'm just gonna go through mine, and you can go through yours, and then we'll discuss because I don't see any reason to stop in between these and talk. We can just talk all.
Yeah.
So Nintendo wants to revive the 3DS games on Switch, and by that I mean there had been rumblings of other games coming to the 3DS after Mario and Luigi's Bowser's Inside Story, the remaster and bundling of some new content that moved from the DS to the 3DS. But apparently, due to the low sales the game had, there were cancellations in these other plans. So apparently, that also included a Fire Emblem game that they had started working on and then just scrapped completely. So that's something. Um, so there's a bunch of 3DS games that basically died, and now Nintendo's talking about supposedly bringing them to Switch. So there were rumors that Nintendo chief Kawa said the company would make more 3DS franchises available on Switch to make the light more appealing, basically to phase out the 3DS, like we always knew it would. So
And not only that, but the president of Nintendo, Doug Bowser, stated that the company is still looking at the 3DS hardware and games as a viable platform. Quote, as long as the consumer demand is there, we'll continue to provide both hardware and software on that front. We're certainly not going to say today. I think that time will tell. But we'll continue to support the 3DS this holiday and into the new year 2020, end quote. I think that's quite interesting, like touching on what you were saying. Like I'd like to see some of the 3DS titles get brought to the Switch, but obviously like it depends, like
right,
because
I don't
one
want
of
there
the
to be
games,
shit.
yeah, like
Like
well, The World Ends With You, I know that was a DS title as opposed to 3DS.
right,
And that I don't think really works at all on the Switch. I might be wrong. I've not really given it enough of a chance. But from what I
mhm,
played, I just couldn't get into it. And I was really looking forward to it. But it was just, there's something about the Switch. I know it's got a touch screen, but I just don't like touching it.
fair
It's like
enough.
want to keep it nice and clean. So it's like games like that, like games that were really, really dependent on the whole two screen scenario. It doesn't seem like they can just transition really well. But obviously, if they're
Right.
not talking about just porting and re-releasing, then that's a different story. But if
Right.
see if they actually bring out some Mario and Luigi games on the Switch, I think I'll scream with joy because I actually went and bought. Well, I went and rebought Superstar Saga and Bowser's Inside Story. The only one they didn't remake was uh, I can't remember Partners in Time, and I bet
Yeah,
you that was
something like
one
that.
that got cancelled, and I would have loved to have seen that got re-released because that was probably don't know yeah, I'd say it's my favorite one.
Fair enough. I haven't played any of them, but I've always heard good things. They're RPGs, right?
Yeah,
Or pretty
no,
close to RPGs
yeah,
from what
they're
I've
like
heard.
quite good RPGs. I think
Okay.
at first they were. I wouldn't say they're very difficult, but I think the first few iterations on the Game Boy Advance, or the first on the Game Boy Advance, was probably more difficult because the more it went on, it started introducing ways to make it slightly easier for certain players. So,
Mhm.
like if you got beat so many times, you could turn down the difficulty or that, or you could set it so you always dodge attacks. But I think as a core game, they're quite good. You know, you play it the way it's meant to be played, and it'll give you enough of a challenge. It's what you put into it really, and it is it's kind of simple, light-hearted, but it's still a solid RPG, I'd say. And yeah, they're quite different. I enjoyed them. I think my favorite one recently was the Dream Team on the 3DS. After that,
Right.
I kind of lost interest. Like the paper, can't remember the name of another one.
Paper.
Paper.
There's Paper Marios and all that, but I don't think that's what you're talking about.
There's one with Paper Mario in it. I just can't remember. It
Oh
was like the
wow.
latest 3DS Mario and Luigi game.
I'd have to look it up, but I don't
I
have
can't
it on
remember
my
the exact
phone.
name, but that one I was not a fan of. I just found it weird that they brought out a Paper Mario. They brought Paper Mario into it, but only Paper Mario. They didn't let Luigi be a character, whereas in Partners in Time you had both Baby Mario and Baby Luigi.
Right.
So it's like, why not just do that for this? But you know,
Interesting. Oh, Paper Jam. That's what it's called. Paper Jam.
goddamn, such a simple name. I should have remembered that.
That's fine.
Yeah,
So
it was
yeah, it's a
alright.
weird name.
It's don't get me wrong, it's good. Like the score to it, OST is really good.
Hmm.
Overall story is good. It's just I just wasn't a big fan. And I think it was like a whole three player battle was just a bit boring. Whereas if it was like Paper Mario and Paper Luigi, I think that would have added a bit more to it. Would have made it a bit more interesting. But I think
Right.
that's where it kind of started getting too simple, or it was just it wasn't as fun as the one literally right before it, and I just
Right.
never got around to finishing it. I might sometime, but I've like I said, I went and bought Superstar Saga, the re-release, and Bowser's Inside Story. So if anything, I'll
Right.
be playing them first because I've been playing the Superstar Saga one, and it's pretty good. Definitely
That's
worth
good.
picking up.
I would if I still had my 3DS, but I just couldn't justify keeping it. I got rid of my handhelds because I had a Vita at one point too. And I was like, I never use this thing. I don't like playing a lot of games that are on this thing. Um, and I didn't overall use it the same way as my 3DS. This was like the heat of PS4, Xbox One season. This was like right
Yeah,
when Halo 5 came out. Is basically when gave up my 3DS because the PS4 was just like getting hammered with good games. That's around the time the first Neo came out too. Anyways, just real quick to prove the point. The reason why they shut down that and kind of the overall is apparently due to super low sales. And this comes from an old Game Informer editor, Imran Khan. So I'm pulling this from Eurogamer. This is what they say. They say that he had mentioned in an interview that basically he'd heard that that game Inside Story, Bowser's
hmm
Inside Story, only sold 11,000 copies in its first month. So that's why they pretty much just canceled everything else. Um, because 11,000 is really far a game like that.
yeah,
So I could see why they would feel like that. Like 11,000 to us would be insane. Like if I got 11,000 views on a video, I'd shit myself. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
but to Nintendo, it's nothing, you know?
I guess
So,
like I think. Well,
bummer.
can't. I guess I'm not entirely sure. I can't really comment, but I'm just going to say like I think it was mostly because it was a re-release, and in that time period, I can't remember exactly how many years, but obviously, like the newer kind of versions or the newer stories were just out before it. So if they'd done a new, like completely new story, I think it would
Right.
have sold a lot better as opposed to rehashing. Well,
Right.
Superstar Saga and Inside Story so quickly one after another.
Right.
I
I
think it would have
think
been better off.
this is just my opinion. I remember when that got announced, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was announced around the same time as that Mario Party game. That was basically just like what was it, Mario Party 100 or something like that, where it had 100 mini games or something. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about? And people were like, "Why is this not on the Switch?" Like they were trying to like make enticing games for the 3DS, but as soon as I saw those games come to 3DS, I was like, I have no idea why you wouldn't try to release that on Switch as well. Unless it's literally one of those things where the dual screen just prevents you from doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I You would know better than me because I haven't played them. Is the dual screen like one of those things where it's just absolutely necessary in that game? Like you couldn't make it any other way?
Nah, I wouldn't say so. It's most like
Okay.
in the newer ones, there's probably more of a dependency on it. But for example, when they re-released Superstar Saga, all
Mhm.
they've done is put like the inventory on the bottom screen, and obviously they never had that option in the first place. So I think if they really tried, it was just a case of like repurposing what was on the bottom screen or repositioning
Right.
it, just finding a way. So like, I guess it's a bit annoying when you push start and your entire screen's covered, but that's kind of what you would expect in any normal game that doesn't have a dual screen setup.
Right.
So games like that could transition easily. It's more stuff like kind of when I was talking about The World Ends With You, where the second
Right.
screen's vital, and because you then have to make it basically one screen, and then you're putting your finger on top of the game as you're trying to see it. I think that just doesn't make much sense. But Superstar Saga, that could have easily been taken to the Switch. Granted, it would have been a bit more difficult to make it look probably the way they wanted to. I guess like compare like the only game I had in my head there was Mario Rabbids. But I can't
Right.
imagine they would make a RPG Mario game look anywhere near that. Maybe, see if it was. I
Yeah.
would buy that straight away, like hands down.
Yeah, Mario
Something like that.
Rabbids seemed more like a XCOM, people were saying. I still haven't picked it up. It
Yeah,
looks good. I'm just like, I have other games I want to play, and you know how Nintendo games are, they never drop. So like the cheapest I've seen it is like $40. I was like, I'm not
so
paying $40 for a 2-year-old game. Sorry.
I got really lucky and got it for £25, and that
Yeah.
was just on a sale. I think it was Smiths Argos, and that was like the gold edition. And like you're
Oh,
saying, I
okay.
go back, and everywhere I look, it's back to 40 odd pound, and I'm just
Yeah, it's
thinking,
insane. That game still like all Nintendo Switch games have super high value.
well, no, it's really good
Um,
though. The deal that was on, I think one of the other ambassadors was talking about it just recently. Um, Tesco in the UK. I don't know if it's in the US or not as well, or if there's anything
no, we
similar
don't
in the
have.
US.
Yeah, we don't have Tesco, but we
Oh, they're
probably
not in the US.
yeah. Anyways,
Yeah,
go ahead.
they were doing a deal for two Switch games for £60 or one for 45, and that's like
Yeah,
a
that's
no-brainer. So I got Luigi's Mansion free and new
there you
Super
go.
Mario Deluxe for my birthday that's coming up off my
There you
partner.
go.
So
The-
like even that, while the
Right.
games don't drop in value, when you see a deal like that, you're like,
You gotta
why
take
wouldn't
it,
I do it?
yeah. We
Yeah,
the
I'm
closest we have to that is Target has a 2-for-1 sale in November, October, where it's buy 2, get 1 free. But guess what? Most fucking Switch games aren't included because Nintendo are assholes like that. Basically, they have pull, so they can say, "No, you can't do that. You can't put our games in the 2-for-1." And I'm like, "Why would you do that?" Like, I literally could pre-order like some games you could actually pre-order in the 2-for-1. So if you
that's
really wanted
mental.
to, yeah, you could just pre-order 3 games if they were available and just get one of them for free. You know what I mean? But anyways, so that's like the closest thing because I was thinking about the same thing because I was gonna get Luigi's Mansion 3 for the channel because I'm the only other person besides you who's mentioned it that actually has interest in it. And I'm like,
I'm looking
I,
forward to it.
I'm super looking forward to it. I haven't played anything since the original. I remember when they announced the sequel and I was like, why did you put it on the 3DS? Damn you. Because I
Yeah,
already given
exactly.
up mine. So, anyways,
I can't remember.
we
I
could go
had it.
on. I'm sure. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying that I had it on the like I had the Luigi's Mansion 2. I can't remember if I still do. I think I got it and just didn't really get into it. And I was
Fair
kind of
enough.
thinking that I'd maybe be the same with the third, but I'm hoping that the third's going to be a bit closer to like you're saying, not closer to the original, but it'll feel more like I'm playing that style of the game as opposed to
Right.
playing it on 2DS. So
My
I'm looking forward to it.
my hope with certain games is it's just more of the same. Like I
Yeah,
know we bitched about that with Pokemon, but sometimes like you have a winning formula. Like with Luigi's Mansion, the first one, that was a winning formula. It worked. all I want Luigi's Mansion 3 is to be that, but better. Like just
Yeah.
prettier and like maybe have more of it. That's pretty much it. My expectations are pretty low. So anyways, we could go on and on about Nintendo and the 3DS and all that. I think we didn't really get into the whole life cycle thing. They say this every year at the I don't know if you've noticed this, but like when did Switch come out? 2017?
I think so, yeah. I can't
Yeah,
remember. Yeah. I'm pretty
I
sure it
think
was.
so. So I know for a fact they said this last year. I know for sure they said this last year. So it's their go-to, like, oh, we'll hang it up when we feel like it, basically. Basically, when the numbers start showing that they're not making money, they're gonna stop. So
Yeah.
fair enough. So,
Th-
but we'll see. Switch Lite seems to be the death nail, in my opinion. But
Yeah, it's like why even bother bringing like I can understand why they want to do it, but the more like I barely see anyone with 3DSs. Like I see some kids kind of kicking about with them, and I've still
right,
got mines. But so you're saying like unless they're really pushing games on it, there's well, I guess that kind of answers my own questions. Like there's no point if they're not making the effort for the games. But when they've got a game console like the Switch Lite, they should just be like we were saying earlier, even like that first point you raised, like taking games from the 3DS library and putting it on there, or just like taking the franchise
right,
and putting it on there. Because I'd
right.
enjoy that. Even more like Tales or Tales of the Abyss that was a re-release on the 3DS. If that came out on the Switch, I'd probably pick it up straight away because that's probably one of my favorite Tales games.
Right. So the Switch is in that position. I don't know if you've seen this, but I stumbled across this the other day when I think I searched Switch for whatever reason on Twitter. And there's literally just a Twitter account that says bring it to Switch. Like it's just dedicated to all the games that people want coming to Switch. It's the best part about owning a Switch because Nintendo could not do jack shit for 2 years and just re-release old games on Switch and we would all be ecstatic. So,
Pretty much.
you know, anyways, I think I beat enough on that drum. If you have anything else you want to say, go ahead.
No,
Otherwise,
that's
I'll move on.
fine. I
Okay.
think we've talked plenty about the 3DS and Nintendo's.
Yeah, the 3DS has served us well, but we have the Switch now. We're good.
We've made the Switch.
You can sleep tight, sweet prince. You can go to sleep now.
Give it a kiss on the cheek and close its box one last time.
Yep, that nice, sweet sound. One more time. Anyways, let's move on to the PlayStation news of the week. In case you are unaware and haven't been paying attention at all, PlayStation's had huge shakeups in their leadership, people at the top, and another one has continued to show up here, unfortunately. So Shuhei Yoshida, if you're aware, he was the head of Sony SCE Worldwide Studios. Basically, he ran the first parties. He was the head guy at the top of the first parties, um, above Sean Layden and above the Japanese man who I can't remember his name at the moment, but he retired when Sean Layden was. We're going to assume fired because he hasn't spoken out since. So, but Shu has moved into a new initiative to focus on fostering relationships with independent developers because PlayStation stopped giving a fuck about them the second they got deals with Activision and EA. So Yoshida has stepped down from his role at SCE Worldwide Studios, and he is instead being replaced by Guerrilla Games co-founder Herman Holst, which is actually a pretty big surprise. Um, he's taking the helm of SCE Worldwide Studios, replacing Sean Layden and Shu, and then basically they're turning that position into one position, is my understanding. Basically, that position was held by three different people at one point. Shu was worldwide, Sean Layden was the United States, the West side, and then the Japanese man who retired was the Japanese side. So basically, they're like, Shu, we need you to focus on indies. That's what you're really good at. You're going to be the guy spearheading that. Herman, you're going to be the new, basically the president of this. So, um, I'm fine with all of this. I thought it was a weird choice that they picked the Guerrilla Games co-founder specifically,
Yeah.
because literally no one gave a fuck about Guerrilla until they made Horizon. Like, I know they did Killzone, and I know people like Killzone, but like nobody really cared. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Horizon is what made them like, holy shit, these guys have talent. They have really good stuff. They can make that next level kind of stuff. So I don't know. This is all very weird to me. We've been talking about it over the last couple. I think you and I have had a chance, but it seems to me that basically ever since Jim Ryan came in, these are just the domino effects of all the stuff he's been putting into position for months. Because I don't know if you saw this, but apparently this is rumor, so take it as rumor. Don't take it as truth. There was some disagreement with Sean Layden and Jim Ryan, the new CEO of PlayStation, about basically the vision for the future. And Jim Ryan really wants to heavily lean into streaming and like subscriptions and stuff like that. Whereas Sean Layton was more like traditional, like, no, let's just sell the $60 game and integrate these things into the stuff we already have, basically.
Yeah.
And so that could be the reason why he got fired. I'm not saying it's truth. I'm just saying those are the rumblings that are going on and the speculation. And as you saw, some of that kind of came to fruition. PlayStation Now dropped in price almost immediately after Sean got fired, or around the same time he got fired. The quality of games increased exponentially, as we talked about earlier. Over the ever since Jim Ryan became CEO, they've implemented the download PS4 games on PlayStation Now. So they're just having a good time over there with all that. So
It sounds like all promising things. Hopefully. No, I'm joking. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it's PlayStation has got its own thing going on right now, and we'll just have to see. This is all shake up for PS5, I think. So hopefully it's good things. But as we talked about earlier, if they can't get stuff right with PS5, it's going to be a huge headache going forward. So
And
we'll see.
hopefully things do get better. But like you said, we'll have to wait and see over the next year and a bit.
Right. We'll pretty much just have to see until PS5 reveal and then kind of get the tidbits of information we've been getting. So, but I mean, there's not really much to discuss. I just wanted to add it on and give you a chance to speak your thoughts because you haven't really had a chance to yet. So, but if that's all we got to say, then we can just move on.
I don't know. I think for now that's all I've got to say on it. I probably should have looked into it a bit more, I guess.
It's just bits and pieces, honestly. Everything I just explained is pretty much it. That's the whole story so far. I caught you up on it. So,
I'm happy
not
to
much
move
going
on
on.
if you are.
Yeah, go ahead. This is the big one of the week, anyways.
Okay. And on to our next point. China puts further restrictions on kids playing video games, which comes to a shock to nobody. Jokes. The Chinese
You're right.
government has added new laws that change the way minors can interact with games. So the first, absolutely delicious point. Children under 18 cannot play games between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m. Children are also not allowed to play games for longer than 90 minutes a day, and minors are only permitted to spend between $28 and $57 per month on in game items. The scale depends on the player's age, and reportedly, the gaming industry has known about these changes for some time, and many have already implemented the changes. I think it's such a weird thing to see this actually happen. Like, it just seems like this should be something down to the parents or guardians of children as opposed to like
Government
law.
regulation.
Yeah, like
Right.
how can it get to a stage where something like that even happens? And it seems like there's some big esports kind of scene going on even in China and around the
Right.
world. So it's like why there's so many kids that are probably I know it sounds silly, but a lot of kids will be kind of growing up with games and wanting that to be their career when they get older. And I don't think that's out of the question anymore. It used to be
Right.
a few years ago, but now it's like you're seeing it everywhere. Like there's esports bars popping up in places. There's more dedicated gaming sections in just random shops like PC World or Game where children can go and play on these massive kitted out PCs or that to get into
Right.
gaming even more. So it's like I can maybe see why, but I don't think it's something that should need to be introduced as a law. This should just be down to parenting. Like if you don't want your kids playing, and just that's down to you. Like I would hate it if for some reason that got introduced in the UK because then I know
Right.
nothing can stop your child from playing a game at night, but it seems really weird. And if that stuff starts getting introduced, then what's next?
Right. It's always push and push and push, and with China specifically, that's just how they exert their power over
yeah,
their citizens. And so I mean, it's ultimately their call. I mean, about it, but at the same point, it's like I agree with you 100%. Like this would just be like a normal. Like to be fair, if this would happened in the U.S., it'd be pretty strict. Like this would be considered strict parenting when it comes to video games. But
Yeah.
like I grew up, and the reason I got out of gaming for so long play. And when I was allowed to play, there just wasn't really anything interesting I was allowed to play. And I could only play for an hour. So like basically what this does is it kills the for a lot of kids it'll just kill the drive initially to even want to play games. And the reason they're apparently doing this is because they're upset with scores, like test scores with
Of
Chinese children.
course.
And so they're hoping that this will improve their um like the test scores and studying and all that kind of stuff. What I particularly found funny is that I don't know how China works, right? In terms of economics, I don't
Yeah.
know how old you have to be to get a job, for example. That's but in America, in America, and I assume in the UK, you really can't work until you're about 16, 17, roughly.
Yeah.
So like the only people giving you money are your parents. So like you're really only spending your parents' money at that
Yeah.
point. Again, which is ultimately their discretion. If they're not paying attention or they don't know how to set up blocks or whatever, like that's on them. But here it's just like, no, we're just gonna stop you automatically. So
Yeah.
I
It's just it's strange. It seems like, sorry to totally butt in. I'll let you go
no,
first,
no, you're
actually.
fine. You're
Okay.
fine.
I was
Good.
just going to say, like, all the 3 points to start with about the time, the actual allocation of how much time they can spend, and
Hmm.
then the money, that's all things that could be done with what's built into consoles at this day and age, I think. I'm pretty sure you can set it so they can't play at certain times. You can set it so they only get so long a
Right.
day. So it's like, is there a need to introduce that law? Like, it's not going to, like, in reality, it's not going to stop anything, is it? It's just going to make either, like you're saying, it's either going to kill it, which is also their goal, like kill the drive to game,
Right.
or it's just going to make them go out of their way to game and make things worse. Because if you're a child, 16 or whatever, that plays games relentlessly, all this is going to do is just make you want to go out your way to get it. It's the same with
Right.
anything else, like
Right.
other similar topics where they ban certain things for certain people, and it's like, I don't know. I just think it's crazy. It's overkill, and it
Yeah,
is
it
the whole
seems
push.
silly, I think, really.
Yeah,
At
it's
the
just
end of
like
the day, we're like, why? What? Like,
exactly. Yeah,
we
it's like
deal with like some regulation. Like you guys obviously have more than us, and some of them for good measure. But like that, this would never happen in in the UK or in the US. I mean, it may happen at some point, but like not in the foreseeable future that I can see. You know,
yeah,
and
and it's like 90 minutes a day as well. That point hurts. That's not even long enough to get into a game. Like
right, you can't really do much in 90 minutes. Trust me. You and
yeah,
I would know we're adults. And you, especially, you got kids, so 90 minutes ain't shit when it
exactly.
comes to
It's like
playing a game. So
imagine. Like I can imagine. I'm going to go on the Death Stranding topic here, but I bet you like one cutscene in that game could probably be like 90 minutes at some point.
the
Probably
opening of
not,
Death
but
Stranding took me roughly about 2 hours to get through like the first like chapter or prologue or whatever.
jeez.
So yeah, it's
See, but that's
long. So
that's an
like
example.
to be fair, a lot of games aren't permitted in China either. They're just outright not permitted. So, whatever. The reason why I included this really was not only so we could have the discussion on just kind of how good we usually have it, and even though they're trying to screw us all the time, um, it could always be much, much worse. And then on top of it, like I just thought it was funny that the last month, we've been talking about China and it's like, oh, there's just Chinese regulation and Chinese bullshit and blah 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 blah. And then all of a sudden China's like, by the way, fuck you. Like we're nobody can spend more than $28 on your game anymore. Fuck you.
Yeah,
Like, I'm sure that has to hurt. But again, I mean, if you got China has what, 1 billion people in it, roughly? Even if you only
yeah,
got 150 million of them that pay Activision on a monthly basis. That's 150 million people, you know? Even
exactly.
if so that's how they view numbers, that's how they view this stuff. Just, it's gross, but that's how they view it. So, but I don't know. There ain't much I got to say on it. I did a whole video on the China our relationship with China and the West and games and media and all that. That's on the YouTube channel if you want to go see that. So, but we try to avoid the political stuff here. So I didn't want to put it too much in, but I think we kept it pretty apolitical and just kept it on the basis of like, this is a weird government thing, but it does affect games. So I felt we should talk about it a little bit here and there. So
So I think
anyways,
it was just opinion based as opposed to
right.
getting too into the nitty gritty of it all.
Right. And I think that's where we always try to tread that line because it's not like, oh, well, these guys are whatever, real bastards or this, whatever. Like, we're not going to get into all that. We just want to talk about like, like if this were to happen in our countries, you'd be like, this is fucking crazy. Like,
I know.
so because it would essentially kill our business. Period. End of story. Yours with Crispy and overall with ambassadors, like it would just kill us if that were the case. So, but anyways, I pretty much said all I need to say on it. So unless you
Yeah.
have something you want to say, I'm good to go.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Well, then that'll be it for us today, friends. It's a pretty decent enough show. It's roughly about an hour. So until next time, friends, I'm Ambassador Michael. Try to check us out at least once a week. That is how often we try to do this show. You might like what you find on the channel or on our Patreon, so please check those out as well. They're always on YouTube. They're always attached to the links. And if not, you can find us on patreon.com/ambassadors of gaming. And yeah, I should probably do better, hygiene on that link wise, but I'm sure AOG is taken at this point. So
We'll find it. We'll find a way.
we'll figure it out. Anyways, that's all I got. So thank you for joining me today, Jordan. And I'm gonna let you rest so that you can hopefully not keel over and die tomorrow at work.
Yeah. And as always, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And until next time, guys.
Yeah, that's it. Goodbye. I don't know what you're waiting for.